maybe the broad question is, when you had that configuration of Matthews, Marner, and Nyes, can you sort of configure it to go down the left side? Is that something you would do?
I don't know if you can do it that way because Nyes isn't really the facilitator that Marner was, right? Although, look, I mean, he's got more assists than goals in his NHL career, 44 goals and 50 assists. So it's potentially possible that he can be more of a setup guy. And maybe you have to be, I don't know, Struddy, when you see it, I mean, sometimes you do the role that's necessary, right? And if Matthews needs more puck touches, his wingers have got to be the guys to facilitate that.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess, is that what he's his best at? And when I think of Matthew Nyes, I don't think of a guy who's, setting up someone else. I see Matthew Nyes using his speed, his size, getting to that. He's got a good shot and making plays. So do you take away from makes him if you, not ask him, but if he tries to tailor his game more to get to Austin. But the reality is you still have to get the puck to Austin Matthews because he can score. And he knows that. When you play with good players, and listen, I played with good players, I wanted to get them the puck as often as I could. Even if I got a second assist, I don't care what people say about them. I think they're beautiful because they still count the same on the score sheet. So, for him to figure that out, he'll have to wait to see who's on his other side. And then what does that player do? What does he what makes him special? And it's because it's not, with 2 D-men, it's a little different. You kind of know your role, and then the other guy's role. But 3 now, it's harder to kind of get everyone singing off the same tune here when you're not sure exactly how you can facilitate to make sure that one of the best players in the world gets the puck, but not hurt your own game and make the right winger make his game as good as he can as possible too.
Well, there's sort of the in-game chemistry, and some people don't like the use of the word chemistry, but you also have to think the same way. You have to sort of have that sort of thought process that fits in with what the other 2 guys are doing, right?
Well, and that's what Matthews and Marner had, right? They had that built-in chemistry of so many years together, and they didn't need to talk to know where each of them were going to be, and that obviously is going to be difficult to replace. But Struddy, I wonder if, the thing you have to wonder about for me with this is, how does the dynamic change, and can it change for the better just sort of by not addition by subtraction, because I'm not trying to downgrade Mitch, but without Mitch, it's just going to be a different type of team with a different type of vibe. And I wonder, in your experience, when an influential guy leaves, how does it change the room, and by osmosis, how does it change the on-ice product?
Well, they know. Anyone who plays any level of hockey, when the other team is better than you, right? And it's not working. And I was playing for the Vancouver Canucks. Marcus Naslund was our captain. And I remember him, I was sitting in the room, and Colorado was always the team we were chasing. But they had, so many Hall of Famers. Rob Blake, Ray Bourque, Hayju, Forsberg, Sakic. It was ridiculous how good they were. And I said, I think we're catching them. He said, Struddy, let's just go through the lines. So we put we were in a hotel room. We wrote down our 4 lines, our 60 and our 70 or whatever. Then same thing for Colorado. Okay, and he goes, go through every one and circle the player you like best. Do you like Sakic or, our centerman? Or do you like Marcus Naslund or Peter Forsberg? And by the end, there weren't a lot of circles on our side of the ledger, right? And we weren't being mean. He's like, this just shows you how far we have to go. So, as Austin Matthews, really smart guy, obviously knows the game, so he understands that, there has to be some adjustments here to try to compete with the teams that are not just in the league, but just in their own division. So, could they take a step back to go forward? Yeah, it may. And there'll be a lot of pressure. Who's replacing Mitch Marner? Do you think you want that in your first day of training camp? Hey, how do you feel about replacing a guy who scored 100 points last year and has been, from here, beloved? So I think they might have to go a little bit backwards, but Craig Berube is probably looking to spread it around more and bring just that constant type of style that he wants to play that thinks will bring success, while still unlocking guys' talents and their abilities.
So a summer of lists. The Athletic did this list. It's about fan base comfort level with the front office. Obviously, Florida leads, Dallas, Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Montreal came in 5th on this list. Edmonton came in 21st and Toronto 24th. I'm kind of intrigued by that because although Edmonton did it in the proper order, there's president, GM, coach. The Leafs did it sort of backhanded, but all those three people have been replaced in a short period of time. The people that you want to blame for failure, and not much failure in Edmonton, but they're not there anymore. So I guess the question for you, Struddy, is what's the comfort level with the Edmonton front office?
Well, the new guy came in, Stan Bowman. At a time that I think it really, the offer sheets really affected this team of Dylan Holloway and Broberg. Those two things really affect them. Now, they'd already signed Skinner and others, not Skinner the goalie, Skinner the player, and that affected their ability to get the deals done. And maybe the guys did never want to sign a deal with Dylan. I'm not sure. I got the feeling Holloway did. I think Broberg was looking for more opportunity. But those are two guys that are there, early to mid-20s, that are both fast. You developed them, you draft them, did all that stuff, and now they're gone. So Bowman now has to come in here, and he has to find some younger players to replace guys that are getting older, right? You look at guys that walked out, whether it was Kane or it was Perry, Fogle, all these guys that are out the door, and now you're trying to replace them with youngish players. Now they've made the trade for Isaac Howard. They're hoping Matt Savoy from Buffalo. Maybe these guys can jump in there. But imagine if they had Holloway and Broberg still in this team. Right? What would that look like? Well, that brings your average age way down. And Holloway's going to get a huge deal. There's no doubt about it. He had a great year last year. So I think that's where Stan Bowman now, I don't know what effect he would have had on, or if he did have an effect on it. But so I think a lot of fans are jittery about that. I know I look at that and say, okay, well, how's that going to work out? Because you got to replace guys. You haven't had a lot of draft picks. Who's coming in? There's going to be that 25, 26-year-old players that can impact and play with Connor and Leon, hopefully for the rest of their careers.
Well, it's an incredibly tall order, right? To take a team that's gone to 2 straight Cup finals and then make improvements on it while you're, at or near the cap. It's not an easy thing to do for sure. But I'm wondering, Struddy, the fans clearly do not have a lot of belief in the front office's ability to do it, judging by this athletic poll at least. But I think the main factor that matters to me is, how does Connor McDavid feel in his confidence that this front office can actually take him where he wants to get, which of course is to a spot where he can be having his day with the Stanley Cup and getting fitted for a Stanley Cup ring. We haven't heard about a McDavid signing yet. We have heard him say that he'd be happy to stay there if he believes this team can be a cup contender on down the line. What's your most recent read on the state of affairs on that front?
You're 100% right. Leon Draisaitl signs a long extension, and I cannot believe that Leon wouldn't have talked to Connor about his thoughts. At least, what are you thinking of doing? They're best friends. They're traveling together. Leon just got married. Everyone's there at the wedding. Like, you even in casual conversations, you'll talk about it. So I think that there's a comfort level for Leon that Connor will be staying. Now, does that mean an 8-year deal? I'm not sure, but he'll be staying. But the challenge, I think, for Connor McDavid is to, you can see the team as it is today. They brought in some new players, and they brought a new goalie coach. I hope maybe it'll change some of the things that the goalies do. But how do you predict? Let's say he signs a 5-year contract. Can you predict what type of young players will be joining this team in 5 years? You can't, because these teams they don't have a lot of really good. You have Bo Aki, who's a pretty good young player, but he's a D-man. But you need to keep replenishing this team from the bottom, and I believe it starts from drafting and developing and bringing it up. And I know it's hard to think about with an NHL team, but Tampa did that for quite a long time. They had players that came in and replaced. You need to have that. So I think that was the idea with Isaac Howard and Matt Savoy. Try to get younger legs in there, and then keep trying to find some little gems maybe out of Europe. But to sell Connor McDavid on, this is our plan. Well, which players? Well, we don't know yet, but this is our plan. I think that's a hard job for Bowman to do, and his former agent, Jeff Jackson.
Coming up next, we're going to talk with Mark Masters, our Maple Leaf reporter, dive into some tennis talk as well. This is Overdrive, live on YouTube, TSN 4, TSN 1050.